Yo, peace was good. Welcome to another hip hop. Welcome to another installment of my CD collection. This is part 91. I know it's been about a couple months since I did one, but I bought a stack of CDs, off the internet as well as like on in stores and stuff like that over the past month or two. So I went digging, and I also got another batch of CDs right over there on the other side of the room. So I might record like 2 or 3 videos tonight, maybe 2. Depends on how I feel. All right. So you know how I get down. Show you guys some of these CDs I bought over the past month or two. All right. So the first CD I'm gonna show in the video is Mark Sparks presents Kakalaka Raw, released in 1996. This is actually the 2016 reissue. For those who don't know who Mark Sparks is, he's a producer from North Carolina. He's done stuff for Mike Geronimo, particularly his first album, The Natural. Songs like The Natural, Whenever You Are, the original, the album version, not the one that had the video version, not that joint. He's done Shireen, and he's done Things Don't Change. He's done the beat for those. I think he did like 4 joints on the album, I think. But yeah, very dope producer, very underrated. He's done stuff for Grand Poobah, particularly from his second album 2000, which I did a review on. I also did a review on The Natural. Definitely check that out when you guys get a chance. He's done stuff for Mary J. Blige and people like that. Salt and Pepper, numerous other people, man, in the 90s. But this is his first solo album. It's a producer album. It's just cats just rapping to his beats and stuff like that. A lot of the artists that's mentioned, I've never heard of them. I'm assuming there's people. Doug Jaff I've heard of before. Porter Rock I've heard before. But everybody else I never heard of. But yeah, very dope album. Production wise, if you guys are familiar with Nick Wiz, they kind of have similar sounds and similar styles, and they also, they both use the SP1200, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, man, very dope album. This is the reissue actually, because like I said before, the original pressing, the '96 pressing, is very hard to come by, and I tried finding it on Discogs, Amazon, it's nowhere to be found. So this is the best way to get it, in my opinion. But yeah, very dope album. Trying to find the original version is like trying to find termite on teeth. Like it's just kind of hard to find, But very dope album, dope mid-90s hip hop, that boom bap that we all love and stuff like that. But this is Mark Sparks presents Kakalaka Raw, released in 1996. We released in 2016. Give me some water. Alright. Next album that I want to show is Pudgee the Fat Bastard's second album titled King of New York, released in 2017. Originally this album was supposed to drop back in I want to say around late 1995, early 1996, but because of the record label that he was under called Perspective Records, the record label, it was like politics on why he couldn't drop the album, and I think it had to do like sample clearances and shit like that. Barry White was on the album, so I could imagine the budget for that was like crazy, which the record label couldn't afford that. So among other things. There's 2 singles off the album. The singles are On the Regular, which is produced by Nick Wiz, and Money Don't Make Your World Stop, which was the second single, which they both have videos for. You can check on YouTube. But overall, cool album. It's not as good as his first album, Give Me the Finger, which I need. Which I need to get my hands on. It's out of print, but it's one of those albums that's not expensive but not cheap. And what I mean by that, it's usually like around like expect to pay like $10 and up for that album. But I definitely need to get my hands on that album, but I will eventually. But it's good to have, because I know for several years there were like leaked versions of this album, but the quality wasn't really very good. It was like cassette quality and stuff like that. But with this album, this is like the remastered version. The product, the studio qualities. Obviously he's not the best, but I think that's what gives the album its flavor. You know what I mean? From the straight off the dats and stuff like that. So, but very dope. And what I like about it shows like the people that produce the songs and stuff like that. And you got people like Nick Wiz, Fran Lover, who I don't know, SID Reynolds. I've heard of him. The only thing I remember from him is he did a joint for World Renowned. I did the remix to How Nice I Am. Nick was again, the Beat Miners, Easy LP, DJ Slice. He's worked a lot with Ran Reed. I think he's affiliated with Nick Wiz and stuff. Easy LP, as I mentioned before, Chris Large, Steve the Intern, Minnesota from Money Boss Players, Dr. Seuss, and Majesty of the King of I. Alright? But yeah, very dope album. I like it. You can tell with this album he tried to follow the Biggie route. You know what I mean? Having like some gangster, like try to have a more versatile album. You try to have like the gangster tracks, then you have like the more mainstream appeal, like radio friendly type songs. For 95, 96, that type of thing. But it's a lot less rugged compared to the first album, but it's still a dope album though. But yeah, King of New York by Pudgee the Fat Bastard, or Pudgee, released in 2017. Originally she was to come out in 95, 96. A swig of water. Alright. Next album is Shabba Ranks 1995 album titled A Mi Shabba. You guys should know who Shabba is. I showed you guys several of his albums. A big dancehall artist out of Jamaica. Couple singles off this album: Shine Out Gyal, featuring Michael Rose, and Let's Get It On. Those are the two singles of the album. With this album, it has like a more like rugged, kind of like a more hip hop vibe to it, and stuff like that. This is one song that I really like. It's called Original Woman, which was produced by Salam Remy. It uses the same sample as the Come Clean. J. Real Damage is Come Clean, which is the Shelly Maine sample. So, but yeah, pretty dope. I kind of like how he flipped it. Kind of gives it that real dancehall feel to it. So, pretty dope. You know what I'm saying? Like if you have like a 90s hip hop, like a 90s theme hip hop party, you play that joint. I think that will be like a dope dope joint to play in the mix and stuff like that. But yeah, Shabba A Mi Shabba by Shabba Ranks, released in 1995. Alright, next album is Mack 10's third album, Mack 10 of Westside Connection, titled The Recipe. This was released in 1998. This is because I have his first album, Mack 10, the self-titled album that came out in 1995, which was actually pretty good. Pretty dope album, and I really like this album. Love the cover. It has the MPC 3000. That's a sampler that Jay Dilla used, Dr. Dre uses, and among other people. A lot of producers, a lot of famous producers. Excuse me, a lot of famous producers used it as well. But the singles off this album are Money Just a Touch Away, featuring Gerald Levert, with rest in peace to him, and Let the Games Begin, featuring Fat Joe and Big Pun, but it's titled Big Punisher. But nobody really called him Big Punisher. People just used to call him Big Pun. I think that song Let the Games Begin was actually featured on the Blood Thicker Than Water soundtrack. I could be wrong about that, but I think it was. But yeah, Mack 10, The Recipe, pretty cool album. I like it a lot. Pretty dope. Next album, I'm so happy that I found this shit. I'm just glad I've been trying to get this album for a minute, but finally got my hands on it. It's Funkdoobiest's first album, their debut album, Which Doobie U B, released in 1993. And yes, I did have this album, but I had the European version. You know what I mean? It had like it was like a weird shaped kind of, I don't know. It looked weird. I didn't like the shit, so I wanted to get the original joint. This joint I actually found at Goodwill. I found it for 50 cents. I was like, what? 50 cents? They wanted 50 cents for this shit? So I copped it with no hesitation. Copped it. This is the original 1993 pressing. So I'm happy to find it, man. This is pretty dope. You guys should know I've already mentioned about them Funkdoobiest being affiliated with Soul Assassin, you know, which consists of people like Cypress Hill, Psycho Realm, Funkdoobiest themselves, Hooligans. I guess you wanna consider them hooligans. Consider them part of the you know, Soul Assassins at one point because, well, yeah, I would consider them because Alchemist, you know, who was the lead rapper of the group, and then Scott Can's Scott Can, who's the other rapper, James Can's son and shit, which made up the Hooligans and stuff like that. But yeah, very dope album. No for singles like Bow Wow Wow, Wop Babaloo Bop, and you know, songs like that. But yeah, the funkiest, yeah, very dope album. Like I said, if you guys like that, you know, like Cypress Hill's first album, you like House of Pain's first album, then you'll definitely enjoy this album right here. Funkdoobiest, Which Doobie U B. This was released in 1993. Very dope album. And quite underrated if you ask me. Alright, next album is the Grimm Teachaz. There's a situation on the Homefront. This was released in 2010. The Grimm Teachaz, they are a fictional group by a dude named Serengeti, who's part of the Anticon record label and whatever. You know, people like Deep Purple, the Deep Purple Dynamics, and you know, people like that. But it's his fictional group, like his alter ego group, whatever. And supposedly this album was recorded back in 1993. But like I said, it was a fictional group. The group consists of three members. The three members are KD, who is Serengeti's alter ego, PMDF, and DJ Kofi. Those are the members of the group. The story with these guys is that excuse me, is that they were signed with Jive Records, but then they saw Shaquille O'Neal or Shaq Fu, whatever, or Shaq. At the time, Shaq was, you know, he was that dude at that time back in the early 90s, you know. At this time, he was with the Orlando Magics and stuff like that. And by that time, he had dropped his first album, Shaq Diesel, which I have. Very underrated album. I don't care what nobody says. But anyways, getting back to what I'm saying, they were like some type of seminar for Jive Records or whatever, and they got into it. And because of that, the album never saw the light of day. But then, a couple years later, years later, KD's brother Tanya found like the actual album in his garage when he was cleaning up the garage and shit like that, and then that's how they were able to put the album out. So, but yeah, this is the album right here. When you listen to it, it definitely feels like it was recorded in 1993, like 92, 93. Very dope album. I fucking love this album. The only single off this album I think is called I Gets, featuring Son Doobie or Funkdoobiest. And I think Melissa was a single too, but I Guess there was a video for that. I mean, the video is so fucking dope. It definitely has that early 90s vibe to it, like that VHS cam look to it is very dope. I like to to compare these guys sound wise. I would say a mixture of Souls of Mischief, Mystic Journeyman, with a little bit of Funkdoobiest, and then you'll get this album, and a little bit of if you mix Farside, Funkdoobiest, Souls of Mischief, and Mystic Journeyman, mix them all together, you'll get these guys right here. Very, very dope album right here, production wise, even rapping wise too. So, but yeah, very dope album. They're supposed to be coming out with another album. I don't know when. I forgot the name of the other album. It's on Wikipedia, but I would love to hear that joint right there. But very good album, dope retro album. It really sounded like it was recorded in 1993, but very dope. Highly recommended. The Grimm Teachaz. There's a situation on the Homefront, released in 2010. See how much time I got left. I still got some time. Alright. Next album. Finally got my hands on this album. Been trying to get this for a minute. I found it on the internet for dirt cheap price, and finally got it. And it's Guru presents the Illkid Records, released in 1995. You guys should know Guru of, excuse me, one half of Gangstar, Guru, DJ Premier, and Big Shug, because Big Shug is, he's like the original member of Gangstar and stuff like that. So, but when people think of Gangstar, people mostly think of Guru and DJ Premier. All right. This is pretty much a compilation album that he threw on artists that was under that was affiliated with Gangstar and stuff like that. So he kind of wanted to put them on and stuff like that. You got people like Ballhead Slick, which is Guru, which is one of his alter egos. Bahamadia, she put out the classic album in my opinion, Collage. M.O.P, Guru, Stick and Move, Big Shook, who I just mentioned before, singer named Baby, never heard of her. Jerry the Damager, everybody should know him. I did a review on his first 3 albums. Definitely check those out when you guys get a chance. True Master, the Wu affiliated producer, part of the Wu Elements and stuff like that. One of my favorite producers of all time. He has a song called Who's the Truest, which I love the song. He actually raps on the album, on the song and stuff like that. He made the beat and he actually produced the beat and stuff like that. Operation Ratification, which eventually became NYG's. So all my people that know about DJ Premier and NYG's, that was their original name. Operation Gratification. A rapper named Forbidden, and Group Home. But yeah, very dope album. It's very rugged. It's very street, very grimy sounding in a sense. You know what I mean? Very dope album. It definitely captures Brooklyn to the fullest. Like when you pop this in, like you'll feel like you're back in New York, back in especially like East New York, Brownsville, like that part of Brooklyn, like around like 94, 95. You'll definitely get that feeling with this album right here. Very dope. Guru presents Illkid Records, released in 1995. This is out of print too. Excuse me. Next album is DJ Clue with The Professional Part 2, released in 2001. It's an album I never really bothered picking up. But I was like, let me pick it up to add on to the collection. So I finally have all of DJ Clue's studio albums. This is the second album. This came out in 2001. The single off this album, what it's known for, is Back to Life 2001, which features Mary J. Blige and Jadakiss. But another big song off this album is Who's Next with DMX. I mean, DMX fucking kills that shit. That shit is so dope. This was DMX in his prime. Like, he was just hungry, angry. He was that nigga, man, at that time, man. Overall, very dope album. I fucks with it. I like it a lot. It's not his best, and some of the beats were kind of like lackluster, but coming from like 2000, 2001, around that time hip hop was kind of like on the fence. It wasn't, it was going towards the worst, because at that time people weren't really sampling this much. People were doing a lot of keyboard beats and stuff like that, so, but it is what it is. But glad to own it. The Professional Part 2 by DJ Clue, released in 2001. Next album is Snoop Dogg's 5th album, The Last Meal, released in 2000. Overall, I think this is a great album. This is one of his most underrated albums. I rarely hear people talk about this album. Excuse me. Very good album right here. The story I heard why he called the last meal. I don't know if it's true, but I heard it from another YouTuber. I forgot his name. I don't remember his name, but when he explained it, it made sense. The reason why he called the last meal is not um because this was the last time that he was dropping with that he was that he was that this is the last time that he recorded for No Limit. Then after that, he went to another record label. But that's not why it's called the last meal. The reason why it's called the last meal is because if you guys know, Snoop Dogg at one point was part of Death Row. He was like one of Death Row's biggest artists at the time. So, but like most artists, they weren't really business savvy. So, Suge Knight, being who he is, had all of Snoop Dogg's royalties and his publishing, his masters, and all that. So, because of that, any album that he dropped after Death Row, he still was making money off Snoop Dogg and stuff like that. But I guess Snoop Dogg, he got more business savvy. He started learning the business, and I guess he found like a clause where it was saying like, okay, this would be like the last album, or that's where it stops. Where after this album, you won't be able to make more money off of me anymore. So, all the albums before this, yeah, you can keep that. Like Doggy Style, Dogfather, The Games to Be Sold Not Told, Top Dog. And I think this album, yeah, Suge, he's making money off of those albums, but this will be like the last draw, so that's why it's called the last meal. And then hence the name of the cover and stuff like that. The cover and stuff like that. He's in Death Row, he's about to leave Death, that kind of thing. So, so I think that's why he called it the last meal. And then when you think about it, it kind of makes sense. So that kind of thing. But I'm getting off topic, but. The singles off this album is Hennessy and Buddha, featuring Cocaine, Snoop Dogg, What's My Name Part 2, which was pretty big back in 2000. Lay Low was another single, and I forgot the other single, but there's 4 singles that he has on the album. But yeah, very good album. I definitely need to get more of his other albums, like The Game Is to Be Sold Not Told, which I need to get my hands on. I need to get I do have Top Dog, but the copy that I got was so scratched up, and like I couldn't really listen to it, so I have to buy another copy of that album. But yeah, very dope album, guys. Please give this album a chance. I know it's under No Limit Records, but it still has that. It still has that, it still has that Snoop Dogg sound. You know what I mean? Like when you listen to it, you wouldn't even think that it was recorded. It doesn't have the New Orleans sound like when people think of it, but it's a dope album. Very dope. You wouldn't even think this. Like just listening to it, you wouldn't even tell that he was with No Limit Records. So, and I think that was cool. Like Master P was able to give him creative control with this album. You know what I mean? But this is actually my second favorite Snoop Dogg album, believe it or not. But very dope album. I have to revisit Top Dog again because I know a lot of people really give the album a lot of praise, but I definitely have to check that album out one day when I get a copy of it, a decent copy. But yeah, this is Snoop Dogg, The Last Meal, released in 2000. Shit, my stomach got left. Alright, I'm gonna show 2 more CDs and I'm gonna cut it short. Alright. Next album is Bravehearts with Bravehearted, released in 2004, which consists of 2 members, Jungle and I forgot the other dude's name. Yeah, I forgot the other dude's name. I think it's Horse or some shit like that. But whatever. Jungle, he's Nas' little brother. I think it's his little brother and stuff like that. They got their own group and stuff like that. Overall, I mean, the singles off this album was Quick to Back Down, I think was like the only single off the album. But overall, very horrible, very bad. I didn't really like it. You would think from Queensbridge, you would get some like dope producers. You get like Havoc on the album, and production wise, Rick Rude, people like that. Seb. You get with what's that dude's name? off of Sid Rome's. I forgot the dude's name. I'm drawing a blank, but Sid Rome's, like, they could have gotten Sid Rome's and shit like that. You could have gotten Alchemist. You could have gotten, Evidence. Even though Evidence is from the West Coast, but you could have got production from them. But like, again, this is another album they try to get that mainstream appeal, and it just didn't work for them. But yeah, bad album, very very bad. But whatever. I'm a Nas loyalist, so definitely had to pick it up. But yeah. Bravehearted, released in 2004. Bad title too, Bravehearted. Like, what the fuck, Bravehearted, really? Ugh. And last time on the show is I-20 was Self Explanatory, released in 2004. I-20, you guys should know him. He's affiliated with Ludacris. He's part of this Disturbing the Peace crew. Very good album. I kind of slept on this album when it first came out because, at the time, around 2003, 2004, that's when, like, the South really invaded, the airwaves and stuff like that. So I was so biased against the South, you know what I mean? Like, anything that came from like Atlanta and whatever, I wasn't fucking with. I hated what hip hop was going through at the time and stuff like that. That whole Little John and East Side Boys and all that shit. So anything from Atlanta, I just wasn't really fucking with. But as I got older, I tend to have like a more open mind, and I was like, let me check this album out. And I did hear like 2 songs of this album, besides the singles, but yeah, I mean, the production on this album is fucking dope. I mean, it's rugged, it's grimy, it's very dope. The singles off this album is Break Bread, and I think The Realest was the single of the 2 singles off this album. But yeah, very very dope, man. I highly recommend it. He's grimy, he's rugged, he's in your face. The beats are dope, it's hardcore and stuff like that. It's just a shame that he only has like 1 album. He never came out with another album. But I guess because he's too hardcore, you know what I mean? Like, people, I guess people don't really want to hear that, you know what I'm saying? People want to hear that soft shit. But very dope album. I highly recommend, if you can find this album, pick it up. You won't be disappointed. If you like dope beats, dope lyrics, like hardcore street shit, this is the album to pick up, alright? This is I-20 from Decatur, Georgia. This was released in 2004. And I'm gonna cut it short. I'm gonna record another part of the video. Alright, I'm gonna do like a separate video, whatever. The next video will be like My City Collection Part 92. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed that. Stay tuned for more videos. Peace.